Thursday before and was all being back in the whole week. There's nothing the full week. On track, you get all the stolen and we can step that. And so I don't. So this is a big, you feel tired and you can't do it. It's all the same. And so that should go fun still to the team and reaching that competition. That's part of it. So you might be here, but yeah. There's no comes to enter. Well, that way, because of that, they're not a correct. Yeah, she just because of it.
Hey everyone, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Alex, who normally chairs it, is unable to be with us today, so I'm going to chair instead. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks so much. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for January 5th, 2025? It should be before you. Motion. Okay, I heard Wally first. Is there a second? Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All approve, the same sign. And then approval of minutes. You have got the minutes via email. Is there a motion to approve as presented? Motion. Okay, and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same. I see some new faces out there, so we'll give introductions to everybody up here and just briefly say who we are, what part of the district we're in. Harry will start with you.
Eric Willis, right here.
PH9 47 Seneca.
Jonathan Walden. Wally Bell with 119 and Bonnie. Alan Oliver, Heritage Civic.
June. June, can you hear us?
Unmute. There we go. I'm June Johnson. I live at the Mason Kellogg neighborhood,
Awesome.
26 Southfield Crest.
And I'm Dalton Glasscock, City Council, and I live in the Lake District. So District 4 is the largest geographical district. As you can see, we have most of the geographical boundaries of the district covered. It runs basically from the river to Goddard and from Douglas to Hayesville. So thanks for being here, thanks for serving, and thanks for everybody in the public being here as well. Move on to staff reports. Let's start with Wichita Fire. Like that.
Everyone. What's everybody doing? Good. Good. Got just a couple things to share with you and safety tips. One exciting thing is engine 23. The quarters for 23 engine should be going out to bid this month. At you guys are probably familiar with that at Mays Pawnee, where we need another engine company. So that'll be great. The governor was here. We have a really great firefighter memorial. It's at Old Engine 6 next to Two's at Lincoln Park. And gonna make it the firefighter memorial park, and it officially is the state memorial for firefighter lighting. Yeah, so that's neat that Wichita was honored to hold that. I think that's really neat. Great. So remember those that sacrificed for us. We just graduated 15 recruits, so people retiring and enjoying life and living on, and we're hiring new people and keeping up to protect you. Not a lot of fire activity in District 4. Probably have heard about. We've had a lot of fire activity in Park City, which is not District 4, but you probably have heard about it. If when firemen fall to the floor, after they rescued somebody, that we had another fatality fire in the area where they also rescued somebody. And then another very large fire in Park City. So we've been busy in Park City as a department. We're very thankful as a department that the men that fell are okay. And, so if you've heard about that, I'll let you know. It's January, get your Christmas trees taken care of, Buffalo Park. There's about 20 locations throughout the county where you can get them shredded up, they get really dry. A good amount of Christmas tree fires actually happen in January. So be careful of that. I know Christmas is over, but a lot of people still have their trees up. Don't want anything to happen. Continue. A lot of people like to enjoy them to the 10th. They get pretty dry. So careful with that. I want to always remind people that your loved ones or yourselves sleep with your bedroom door shut. It's just. I can't emphasize enough what the difference that would make if your house is on fire. Bedroom door shut. I know some people like to sleep with a crack or open or don't have a door. Do everything you can to sleep with it shut. Change your, make some adjustments if you sleep with it open. I know it's abnormally warm, but also wanted to remind people about ice recipes. We start to make a lot of those. Sometimes it's something as simple as somebody going out onto a pond to fetch their dog. We understand your word, but do not go out on the ice. If you find a child out on the ice, I know you want to go out, call 911 and talk to the child. Going out on the ice just makes the problem worse. We end up with both people or a person and a dog. Very challenging if you fall. Only put you in peril. Been kind of quiet, like I said, fire wise, which is good, right? Did around Halloween, we did have a couple fires, a little bit of arson. In District 4, I've got a couple addresses, quick list. One on Billwood, one in 2100 block of South Seneca. I think that's what I have for you guys tonight.
Any questions for the
Dan
board?
would have the question.
Any questions from the public? Thank you. I want to say a brief comment. Excited about the new station.
Yeah.
It's the first station since 2008 in the city. It's going to be at Pawnee and
Base, yep.
I also want to thank June Johnson who gave the idea of promotional sign outside to be driven by. There's a sign saying the new station's coming soon. Last I heard, groundbreaking's in February. So still
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Okay. And then also there's two other locations around in District 4, or one in District 4, one right out of District 4. You can drop off Christmas trees because I dropped off mine yesterday at Cowtown. You can also drop it off at Osage Park.
Yep, Osage Park is one.
Thank you for being here.
You bet. All right. Great evening, everybody.
I want to introduce three other people. Patricia Daly is on Zoom. She's a DAB member in Delano. And then Nancy Bradley is on the Wichita Animal Control Advisory Board in the back. And then Kelly Wins is the appointee to the Bicycle Steering. Well, so thank you for both being here. Great voters too. Wichita Police Department.
Leave it on.
Good evening, everybody. Marshall Toto, the Wichita Police Department. I'm not sure what's Johnson. The left with copies in the back of stats. Who was curious? I'm only going to give you a 30-day comparison, but there's a lot more. Just kind of let you know how the holidays went. I got shit day. And just before we did have one homicide in the last 30 days. So that was I can't go into too many details, but it's still an open investigation. But should be no threat to the public if we believe in the party function. As far as sex crimes, we had one less than we did in November. We had one less robbery. Our aggravated, but most. Our burglaries are down front and we have 11 less large. If you guys do happen to pick up your, if you look at 5 trash, that only goes down, so. Which is pretty. Second Chance Thursday is just been announced, March 26th at 1329 East 26th. Or, excuse me, East 16. I know you guys probably heard me talk about it in the past. We're able to help a lot of people there, DMV's there, to help them stay price and do it. So, or store, we also clear warrants, buy and trap warrants for people. Stuff like that. I think Officer Johnson has a couple of statistics for you.
So two things we're excited about. Our current academy recruit class has 29 recruits, 5 of which are females. They will be graduating on the 15th. So, and then 5 days later, we'll pick up 40 more recruits, 6 of which will be. So we are excited to hear that. Excited to be seeing new faces, people being trained. So, also just kind of a reminder, Fire had mentioned it. I don't know if the weather will get colder or not. It's been so nice. But just not to leave your vehicles running, not to leave valuables in vehicles, so not targeted them. So just kind of reminders that way.
Any questions from the board?
Last week, you had an armed robbery at the Phillips 66 at Kellogg and Tyler. You had that drone up so fast that it made that stand straight. You got him within like 5 minutes or so. Amazing. Amazing.
For those of you who haven't seen our drones, they are. I mean, it's like you're watching a 4K TV. They can do something amazing. You ever get a chance to go to, like, if we had a community event or showing them off, go look at them. They're really something. Well, thank you.
Any questions from board? Any questions from the public? I want to thank you. Yesterday, I did a ride along with North Patrol, and I know when I was out there, when I do community policing, when I was out there was 27 officers for the whole city that were patrolling, and so we were doing call to call, back to back calls, and I sort of thank you guys. It's a tough job, and that comes out to about 1 officer for every 15,000 people at one time patrolling the city when I was out there. And so I just want to thank you and thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we have live scenes.
Welcome to Alfred. On February, I'll start off, our attendance for December of 2025 was 3,133, which is down from 3,929 last year. And our circulation was went from 5538 down to 6160. And or I should say, flip that around, 6160 down to 5538. On February 3rd, 2026, the Wichita Public Library marks 150 years of providing free access to library services, public information, helpful resources, and welcoming spaces for all Wichita residents, regardless of background. Festivities began at the Advanced Learning Library with a come and go opportunity on third to share your favorite library memories or hopes for the future. Their story lives at the library as much as the stories on the shelves, so please contribute to our 150-year wall display with pictures, notes, and/or creative expressions of your library love. The iconic Community Reading Challenge returns for the 10th year. Each year, the library partners with KMUW and the Wichita Eagle to challenge adults to finish 12 books from 12 categories in 12 months. Visit wichitalibrary.org, read ICT to learn more about how to track your progress online or chance to win monthly prize drawings. If you want to connect further with the Read IT community, join us at 1 p.m. on Saturday the 10th at the Advanced Learning Library to celebrate the challenge's 10th anniversary, chat with about the new categories, and share recommendations with fellow readers, librarians, and Read IC Challenge creator Susan Perez of KMUW. Beginning this week, story times resume at the Wichita Public Library branch.
Visit wichitaLibrary.org story times for a full schedule to find story time with the right time, location, and age range that works best for you. Alfred's are Mondays at 10:30 a.m. Every Tuesday night, teens can explore an activity or craft, dive into your own project, or simply relax and hang out with friends from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Teen Pavilion on the first floor of the Advanced Learning Library. Invite the teens in your life-filled community, have a safe place for self-discovery, learn new skills, harness their creativity after school in an easygoing, welcoming environment. Additionally, the library's Teen Advisory Board will host an after-hours cozy mystery at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, January 31st at the Westlake Branch Library. TAB members will act out an art heist and leave clues for other teens to examine the evidence, question witnesses, and solve the mystery. The library is partnering with Watermark Books for a couple of exciting upcoming author talks. 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February 10th, the Advanced Learning Library will host Michael Threets, President Librarian for PBS Kids and new host of Reading Rainbow, to discuss his new book, I'm So Happy You're Here, a celebration of library joy. At 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, February 19th, the Advanced Learning Library will host New York Times bestselling author Kate Quinn to discuss her new novel, Astral Librarian. Wichita Library Foundation will host a VIP meet and greet before the author talk. Tickets are $100 and include admission to the VIP meet and greet, the author event, and the signed hardcover copy of the book. RSVP for both by visiting watermarkbooks.com, events, tags, author events. And some of the upcoming events here at Alfred. Third place on Meridian will be Tuesday, January 20th at 5:30 p.m. Come regain your youth by building with Legos. And on Wednesday, the 21st at 2:30 p.m., there will be a Learn to Type Faster program put on by our trainers from downtown. And then finally, the NAMI Arts and Mind Series starts this Thursday from 4 to 7. The Alfred Library is partnering with NAMI, a nonprofit organization that provides mental health support and education and advocacy for a 4-part series of wellness programs designed to empower participants to better manage their mental and physical health. And you can register online by visiting wichitalibrary.org/events or by calling 261-8500. And if you haven't picked it up, we do have the Evolve Guide. It's the library, the parks, and city arts all get together and have one community showing for adults, kids, what's going on in each of the different departments. So there are some on the back. If we run out back there, there's some in the library on the desk. So
Awesome. Any questions from Dad? Andrew?
Are the library updates reading?
how are the library updates treating me?
Yeah, you like it?
We do. We get a lot of good comments. I had one just today. A lady come in. She commented she hadn't been in for 20-some years when her kids were young, and she liked the new or how the updated colors and brightness of it. And she also had a comment that her daughter, who was in college, is planning on being a librarian based on coming to our enjoying the library too.
Questions from the public? Okay, I joined the Read ICT Challenge today. I've never finished it. So my goal this year is to finish it. Are there still yard studies from the Library Foundation available?
I believe so. They have them downtown.
Okay.
I have the one out there. I just need to bring one, the sticks or the put into it from another branch. That's Walters branch has to do something. That's they have them downtown. I have not heard they run out there or not.
If you haven't used the library recently, when you check out books, on the receipt will show you how much money you saved on that purchase, or if you want to unlock the book. And so I made it a competition this year, trying to see if
See if you can do more than last year.
Yeah.
It is. So cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
Communications should have received a report via email. There's also some for print and back from city communications. I was trying to stall a little bit because the new city manager, Dennis Marcel, is going to join. Again, just a hello, welcome greeting here in a second, but I think he's trying to go to multiple district advisory boards. So when he comes, we'll hop in after whatever case it is to hear just some brief remarks from him. Move on to public agenda. There are no scheduled items. Is there anybody present to speak that did not sign up on the public agenda prior? Okay, and I guess caveat is about something not on the agenda.
Housing or
Yes, affordable housing.
We have zoning cases, but generically for what you're gonna talk about, probably not. All right.
Thanks.
And anybody has up to 5 minutes. If you're here to speak on the agenda items, we'll do that on the agenda item. And so this is just, we're not sure what we're talking about.
That's here or?
Louis,
Yeah.
probably behind there, because I don't know if it's mic'd up or not.
It is not.
It's not
No, it's up.
just there to help.
Wherever you want.
Wherever.
Okay, so my name is Louis Gosselin. I am a resident in District 4 and I currently am a renter in the Delano area, but recently purchased a home at the 31st Seneca area, so I'm staying in the district. And I am originally from Wichita, moved away for some time, and returned just about 4 years ago to help start up a local justice ministry organization, but I'm not speaking in that capacity today. Today I'm speaking as a resident and wanted to raise the issue around affordable housing. One of the people that I've met when I first settled into my new home, as I was moving into the Delano neighborhood, was a woman who was also a renter and she lived right next door to me. And she delighted in her ability to tell me the names of every person on the block, including the business owner on the corner and even the names of pets. And she told me about how she really was kind of the link that held the neighborhood together during COVID. She told me a tragic story of someone who actually passed away during that time of isolation. And when she noticed that no one was coming out to feed and water the dog, she took it upon herself for a day or two before calling for help. And so this woman, who was kind of the through line in the neighborhood, was only my neighbor for about a month. And that's because the landlord upped the rent from $750 a month to $950 a month. And that was just beyond what she could afford. She slipped behind on rent and of course ended up having to move. And when I asked her, where are you gonna go? What she told me was that she was probably gonna end up couch surfing for a while. She didn't have an opportunity to secure housing that she could afford. And so she told me she was more than likely going to end up on the couch with her adult son. And so the reason I'm bringing this up tonight is because while a lot of folks acknowledge that Wichita's housing rates are lower than the national average, so too are our incomes. Housing is unaffordable for a lot of people these days, including about 40% of renters. 1 in 5 renters is paying a majority of their income on housing. And as we've seen, part of what brought me back to do the work of ministry in this community is we have a growing homelessness problem. I grew up off of Harry and Broadway in a neighborhood that's always struggled, but never did I see people living in tents up and down the block or up and down the river. Never did I see people panhandling on the on and off ramps as you got on and off Kellogg. And so that's really what got my attention and made me want to come back and start doing ministry work here in Wichita. But the reason that I'm bringing this up at this time is because right now we have an opportunity. There's a lot of conversation happening around the proposed 1% sales tax. And there have been some lively debates from different angles on different interests and different needs in the community. But the one thing that I want to bring up and really emphasize as a resident of this district is that I know that people in our district are struggling and suffering from the lack of affordable housing. We know that there are nearly 2,000 kids in USD 259 that are homelessness or housing unstable. We know that there are many more people just like my neighbor who are being priced out of their homes. And so as we talk about what we can do to, you know, as the new group calls it, move Wichita forward, what we want to do is make sure that the Wichita that we know and love isn't being left behind. And so that's why as we talk about $150 million being put into an investment fund for homelessness and affordable housing, we need to get clear on what that means. As a voter, I'm looking for, as I try to determine, you know, my own support as an individual for this, I'm trying to decipher whether or not it actually is going to include the things that folks like my neighbor need. We've got people who are on a Section 8 waiting list who hold a voucher but can't find a unit. Oftentimes when the city shows up and tries to help intervene with people experiencing homelessness, there are vouchers that are handed out. The problem is there aren't enough units. And the city did a good thing a while back in creating the Wichita Affordable Housing Fund. It's a fund that specifically makes it more tenable for nonprofit developers and housing developers to be able to keep their units affordable. by helping to defray some of the costs of new construction as well as rehab. And we know that there are a lot of units in our city that need rehab as well. And so the problem with that fund is the city put forward one-time COVID relief dollars that have since been spent, and there's no plan for ongoing funding. And so I know one of the things that's been prioritized through this Wichita Forward proposal on the sales tax is the support of Second Light. Just like
We have a
Second,
minute to wrap up.
yeah, so just like Second Light, this housing program is also out of funds. And that's why I'm hoping to see at least $10 million annually invested in the Wichita Affordable Housing Fund, because shelter alone doesn't solve homelessness, only affordable housing does. And so I understand that the city's going to be going into a workshop on the 27th to try to define some of how these funding priorities are going to be spent. As a voter, like many voters, we're looking for clarity and definition around that. I can tell you that they're just as Wichita Forward in their polling showed, there are large numbers of people in our community that are looking for a solution around affordable housing specifically, not just support for shelter, but affordable housing. And so as a voter and as a resident of this district, that's what I'm looking for, and that's what I hope that you'll champion at that workshop on the 27th.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions for Dad? Well,
One comment that I've noticed. Worked for assessment for 3 years in Europe, and I lived in the province. And I'm not very fond of developers. They put our money in their pockets, and they live well. Over in Europe, I had a friend of apartments over there, it was real nice, built and modern and everything. But it was all individually owned by people would buy an apartment as an investment. And then they rent it out. They had a concierge there, managed them. But all of this apartments, it was over 100 apartments, it was built as brand new. When I moved in, it was a brand new apartment, but it was individually owned. And you contracted with the individual who did it for an investment, for their retirement or whatever, instead of some developer pocketing all this money. And the irony for developers pushed up.
any other comments from Dad? Also, I'm looking forward to our meeting with statistics about what the $10 million is for. A lot of groups that want $10 million, but I don't want specifics on what the recommendations are. We're going to be talking, I know Tricia and I talked about this before, there's 20,000 vacant units in Wichita, and how do we work on infill, how do we easier to be able to rehab a lot of those facilities. You have one person in front of you that's doing that. The property is over on Meridian, and almost every case we hear this board is trying to focus on how to housing. It's not a government-based solution, how do we encourage private to lead on this development projects? And so when meeting with Justice Together, my ask is what are the private sector solutions, what are not the government solutions that we can offer? To make affordability easier for people with guaranteed affordability for projects. So I'll be looking at infill and looking at how do we make it's the right to be sure. So look forward to our meeting and then look forward to conversation. Anybody else in the public that is interested? Being none, let's see, that Dennis is not here yet, we'll move on to the first zoning case, and that's for PUD 2025-00026.
But stand for I don't know if they would like differentiate poverty, they have to amend it. So in this case, they're amending PUD number 6, which is 55 acres in size. It's west of South Seneca and northwest Arlington Park Road and northwest of West Perry Lane. So the PUD, as it stands, comprises of 2 parcels. There's parcel 1, and that's south of West Perry Lane and north of West MacArthur. And then parcel 2, as you can see on the map here, which is north of West MacArthur and west of West Perry Lane. The subject site is currently undeveloped, and the applicant is requesting the amendment to this PUD in order to allow residential and commercial opportunities. So the previous development was intended for cluster housing, and so that's not to say that it's still not a possibility on the site, but they're simply removing the language that is restricted to that particular type of development. They're also requesting additional uses on both parcels of the PUD. So if approved, parcel one would have warehouse, self-service storage, and outdoor storage as principal use, removed from the current list of prohibited uses. So if we go to page 5, that has a list of prohibited uses, so they're looking to remove that from the list of prohibited uses. And then for parcel 2, it would allow warehouse self-storage as well as hotels or motels being removed from the list of prohibited uses. And then in terms of the signage provisions, so on parcel 2, the applicant requests to increase the square footage of 2 signs along I-235 that would go from 400 square feet to 768 square feet. This is still smaller than the standard billboard, which is 855 square feet, and that's allowed in either a general commercial zoning or limited industrial zoning. The planned unit development drawing, which it's on page 7 of your staff report, it shows the approximate location of where those signs would be placed. And so I overlaid that in our GIS map, and they would be about 500 feet apart. In the sign code, the Wichita sign code, it requires a minimum of 330 feet of separation. So they are again asking for something that is more restrictive. The character of the neighborhood is residential near the local streets and commercial near the arterial streets. The subject site is not platted, which means if commercial development were to happen on site, they would be required to plat the property, which addresses rights of way, drainage, streets, frontage, et cetera, et cetera. So this PUD was created in 2019. Skipping ahead here. So when we do our analysis of our requested zone changes and requested amendments, we look at the plans and policies that were adopted by the Wichita City Council. And so the requested zone change here is in partial conformance with the community investment plan, namely the 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map. The map identifies the area to be appropriate for mostly residential uses. So the planned unit development, they currently allow residential. They're requesting a little bit more commercial development, namely those allowed in general commercial zoning. And so that partially aligns with the goals of the future growth concept map. The plan also has locational guidelines that provide a decision-making framework regarding land use changes. And so one of the locational guidelines within the community investments plan is that major commercial and employment centers should be located at intersections of arterial streets and along highways and commercial corridors. So parcel 2 is directly south of Interstate 235. And then non-residential uses should have site design features that limit traffic, noise, lighting, and adverse impacts on surrounding residential land uses. And so the provisions of the planned unit development cover lighting, signage, and screening standards that limit that impact on some of the surrounding residential uses. Staff is recommending approval of the PUD amendment request based on the golden factors, which are listed on pages 3 and 4 of your staff report. Won't go through all of them here, but I will skip ahead to number 8. I received 2 phone calls from neighbors who were really curious about the application. They didn't really express support or opposition to the requested PUD amendment. And this did go to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission on December 18th as a consent item. So it was not even heard by the Planning Commission, so they recommended approval. So I'll skip ahead to some of the site photos here. So this is where parcel 1 is. You can see on the upper right corner, that's where some of the residential uses are. That's West Cary Lane. And then if we go down to the next page, that's where parcel 2 is right along the interstate. So where it says looking west towards the site, you can kind of see the interstate. So this is just generally where it's located. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
First is the agent or the applicant, the agent present. Just in case you have questions. Are there any questions from Deb? No.
Why did we remove the veterans community?
So it doesn't restrict the development with veterans housing. So it's not to say that it's not a possibility still. It still is a possibility, but they're just removing the language to make it open to other uses. That is my understanding.
Okay. This passageway is on the parcels.
Yes.
Thank you, Colonel. Do you want to speak to that question?
I can.
Yeah, you would come there.
Kim Edgington with PSC Consulting, agent representing the applicant. So Passageways owns both of these properties. The direction of their focus has changed somewhat, so that it's not off the table entirely for potential future veterans housing. But we don't find that we would need all of this property. It may just be a smaller portion of the property, and it may not be this property, or that this might not be the best location for the needs of this community. So we are simply asking that there be some additional commercial uses that the underlying zoning didn't include initially in 2019 when we went through this process. We also are asking for the ability to do some billboards along 235, which are common and very appropriate along a highway. So we certainly are not taking residential uses off the table. We're just trying to add in some other additional uses to make this more of a mixed use, possibly more with some commercial, semi-industrial. There's a lot of industrial parks just kind of surrounding all of this property. So it might end up looking a little bit more like that. But rather than being just vacant ground, we would like to be able to get in there and get this property, bringing in some tax dollars and being a productive piece of ground. So
Parcel 2 will only access be through Carrie Lane.
yes,
still.
it is. I mean, at some point, it may, it may be to our benefit to get access to the west through the Machinist Union property. If that's something that the Machinist Union would even be open to. I mean, that would be entirely up to them whether they would enter into that kind of agreement. But there's a lot of uses directly adjacent to the highway that could be a much better, higher beneficial use, hotels, motel, things that would serve the traveling public. So that would be a greater benefit to this property right now. And if there are going to be residential uses, they're more than likely going to be on parcel 1.
Any questions from Deb? Any questions from the public?
So this property that Passageways got is contingent upon it being veterans housing at the time that the sellers sold it and the plan was submitted, as I recall, and I could be wrong.
There is not a restriction or anything on the property that requires it.
Well, no, but the plan had been submitted and I live directly south of this
Okay,
parcel.
yeah.
And
That was the original intent and purpose of the property was as veterans housing, but as their funding, their operations have moved forward.
different direction.
Different direction, yeah.
So the idea being Carrie Lane is not a major throughway. And trying to commercialize that, I, as we all know, Lane has developed that corner at Seneca and MacArthur. And then we have the hospital going down MacArthur. It's really already increased traffic. And it is primarily, before all this happened, a residential area with a lot of manufactured homes. Which,
And we'll save public comment just after we're done. with the
oh, I'm
question.
sorry.
No, you're good.
I
You're good.
apologize.
To use the system. We so
Right,
the component of this property, the access
from MacArthur. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the public before we open to public comment? Okay, thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Now we'll have public comment.
I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. If you can come up
I
and state your,
need to go quicker than I intended.
you're good. If you would come up to the front and just state your name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes, so.
Well, just
You don't have to take all the 5 minutes, but.
I am Gabby. My name is Rebecca Barr. I've been a lot. I've been there with my family. And when passageways came in, we were concerned that they had a really nice plan and we thought that would be a gap. My only concern is that if you're gonna do more commercial development along Perry Lane, right now there are people camping and living on the property. We have fire department out there already. And we have already seen increased homeless traffic on MacArthur and White. And the police department can attest, we've had more theft in that area since they widened the road. So that's my only concern, cause I grew up on that road. And in watching it change, I understand the shift, but be mindful, there's a lot of families in that area through the manufactured housing as well. Thanks.
And regarding the comment about homelessness or encampments on the area, we do have Second Light that is for individuals, so when you see those encampments, if you can send Brooke and I a message, we'll make sure that we get a hot team out, a hot team
Well, the
officer. out
fire
there.
department had to come out because they had fires going.
Yes, call 911 if there's something.
We
like that.
did, we
Yes.
did.
And if you can send me the list of encampments, we'll send somebody from hot team or house and apartment to let them know.
Well, you kind of indicated there may be vouchers, but there's no housing, so.
Can I address just
Yeah,
the access stuff? Just quickly want to address the access issue because the plating is going to have to, before anything can be built or constructed on this, we will have to go through plating, and that's one thing that we are going to address on Cary Lane, is that there will be restrictions on how much that can be accessed. So that will come kind of at the next step of development, but we certainly don't want to, that road is not designed and built to handle that kind of traffic, so we have no intention of doing that, so.
Thanks, Jim. Anybody else for the public that has comments? Seeing none, we'll take it back to the board, it's the conversation or discussion with the board. If,
Make a motion to accept the.
if there's a motion, is there a second? Second. Jonathan, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Okay, motion passes. Becca, please do my information on the back, for response.
Okay,
And send me your number if you can be email. We'll move on to, actually, we'll move on to the next agenda item because we have special guests. So new city manager Dennis Horsell is fresh into town. And Dennis, if you want to come up, give a few remarks as well. I have the pleasure of meeting Dennis on a few occasions now, talking to him a lot. We'll have regular weekly meetings. Dennis is Kansan, native Kansan, lived in Manhattan. He's worked for numerous municipalities, Charlotte, most recently, he was city chief of staff in Charlotte. And then most recently county manager in Lancaster County in South Carolina. So we're glad to have you back in Kansas. I was especially impressed with Dennis's skills to manage both county operations, city operations, his work in the nonprofit sector at United Way, and bringing that into one position as city manager. So this is, I believe, your first day on the job.
It is.
And you're already with us today, so thank you.
Absolutely. So it was a pleasure and honor to be here. I actually to offer thanks to you all for being involved in your local government. You're giving us time tonight. So certainly appreciate your willingness to come and learn more about local government. Something that I love to do and I've made a profession out of. I'm certainly appreciative of the council member and the entire council for seeing opportunity for me to move into the city manager role. So certainly looking forward. We got a dynamic team of 3,000 employees, the city of Wichita. We're doing great work on a day-to-day basis. Got a dynamic council who's forward thinking. Certainly having the citizen input, I think, is a great opportunity. Make sure we have the voice of citizens in local government. And there are a lot of avenues to do that. And we're going to look to do more as we go forward. But my first day on the job has been getting to know the police chief and a lot of the department directors today. But certainly understanding public safety and the different goals and priorities. But really, I'm going to take the first 90 days. So what I say, look, listen, and feel. I'm sure it's from Kansas. I know a little bit about the community, but there's been a lot going on. I think the growth has been wonderful here. We want to have positive growth certainly going forward. That's part of the conversation today. But I will continue to meet, like I said, a lot of community meetings, a lot of internal meetings with staff, but taking the opportunity to live with Smithfield. So thank you for making me feel welcome here. Certainly appreciate it. I have my first council meeting tomorrow. So we'll see how a council meeting goes tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to tune in. And I'm looking forward to it. So again, thank you all for being involved. Look forward to working with you and being at future meetings. So thank you.
Give back stuff.
I'll be giving Manager Marcel a tour of District 4, I think in 2 weeks. And so if you have any recommendations, it's his idea, that he would tour each district independently. If you have any ideas, things you must see or restaurants, I'll probably take that to a restaurant at some point, so send me some recommendations. I'll try to highlight the very vast part of the district. So thanks for being here. We'll move on to the next zoning case. Zoning case 2025-00065.
Hi, Christina, again. Here to present a zoning change request from single family to two family. While these properties are considered non-contiguous, we decided to roll them into one because they're both owned by the same people and they're pretty close to each other. Each property is 0.30 and 0.16 acres size respectively. They're on the side of South St. Clair, within 200 South and West Maple Street, so that's 320 South St. Clair Avenue. Each subject site is vacant. And they were developed with each developed with a single family dwelling until about 2022. The applicant is requesting the zone change in order to build a duplex on each of the parcels. So should the zone change request be approved, there's really no change in the development standards in terms of setbacks, maximum height, parking requirements. But the only difference is that single family zoning requires a 5,000 square foot minimum lot size for a single family. TF3 requires 3,000 square feet per unit in a duplex, so that'd be a total of 6,000 square feet. So the subject site is located within the Delano overlay, which is the architectural overlay. I personally managed to make sure that any changes to the neighborhood are they're architecturally compatible with the original buildings in the district. So any new construction that occurs on the site would have to go through the Delano Design Review Committee, which I'm on. And it's subject to the Delano Neighborhood Design Guidelines. The character of the neighborhood is residential. There's really no zoning cases other than it was platted in 1887 and it was added to the Delano overlay in 2003. Skipping ahead to the conformance to plans and policies, the requested zone change is in conformance with the community investments plan. Identifies the site as primarily appropriate for new employment uses, which is interesting because it talks about areas that will likely be developed or redeveloped by 2035, with the concentrations of employment primarily in manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, construction, research, technology, etc. But this requested use is actually less intense than the plan indicates is appropriate for the area. When we look at the plan's locational guidelines, which I mentioned in the last report as a decision-making framework, it says within the established central area, accessory dwelling units, duplexes, and small-scale multifamily developments can be appropriate in existing residential areas if the site design limits adverse impacts on surrounding residential uses. So, in staff's opinion here, that the duplexes, they have to be in conformance with the Delano Neighborhood Design Guidelines. We'll probably take this to the Delano Design Review Committee, which is, the advisory committee, which is a public hearing. So they'll be able to help shape the design of these duplexes. And then when we look at the Wichita Places for People plan, which is in the established central area of the city of Wichita city limits, they provide a list of strategies that promote walkability within the established central area. Strategy 5 is to provide a diversity of housing options to attract new residents and allow existing residents to remain in ECA. And strategy 6 is to encourage infill and redevelopment that is contextual to the environment in which it is occurring. So we feel that it aligns with the plan. And then for the Delano neighborhood plan, the future land use map and the Delano plan identify the site as appropriate for residential uses. Staff is recommending approval of this application, subject to the golden factors that are listed in your staff report. I have not heard any public comment, and this goes to the planning commission next week on the 15th. So we can take a look at some of the site photos here. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Any questions from the board?
That's right next to the railroad tracks.
Yes.
Their question.
I wouldn't want one.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, any questions from the public? Okay, is there any comments from the public regarding this application? See none, I'll take it back to the board. Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second, okay, all, you get a pick, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, passes, thank you, and I think your last one, one more, okay, 0005
Yes, that's. It's the southwest corner, of West 27th Street, South Elizabeth. It's currently developed with a church and a cell phone tower and associated maintenance buildings. The applicants are requesting the zone change in order to build complexes on site. So they did submit a site plan, which is not required for these types of applications, but they went above and beyond for us. They intend to remove the existing church and have 3 quadplexes along 27th Street and 2 quadplexes along West Regal Street, which is directly southwest 27th. So this is about a 3-acre site, and if the zone change request is approved, even though it's called MF 18, for some reason it's actually 17.4 dwelling units per acre. I don't know why it's like that, but it would allow for a maximum of 45 dwelling units on the site. However, they indicated they're only building 20, which is less than half of what's allowed on site. And then there is a slight change in the development standards in terms of minimum lot area, lot width, setbacks, etc. That's in the table that's listed in your staff report. So the Unified Zoning Code requires something called compatibility standards. So essentially, if you're close to single family or 2-family zoning, you have to be set back a little bit further than what's required, just because we want to ensure compatibility between multifamily buildings and single family buildings. Screening and landscaping are required in accordance with section 4 in the zoning code and the Wichita Landscape Code, because this is a multi-family site. And the character of this neighborhood is low density residential. So in 1952, the subject site was platted, and then in 2021, the planning commission approved a 125-foot wireless communications tower on site, which you see on the site today. The subject site has access to West 27, South Elizabeth, and West Regal Street. And the requested zone change is in conformance with the community investments plan. It identifies the site as appropriate for commercial uses. So even though the site, again, is not commercial, it's less intensive than a commercial use, which aligns with the goals of the plan. And then the locational guidelines, again, they encourage infill development that maximizes public investment in existing and planned infrastructure and services. So the requested zone change here, it actually facilitates infill development on a lot that has ample open space and already has access to water services. Planning staff is recommending approval of the application based on the following factors. I did receive a phone call from a member of the public. He was concerned about speeding along West 27th Street. Apparently that's common for this area. With that, I will go to, here's a site plan. As you can see, there's 3 quadplexes along West 27th Street and 2 quadplexes along West Regal Street. Go to the next slide. Showing aerial map, zoning map, future growth concept map, and site photos. And with that, I will stand for any questions. And then this went to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission on December 18th, and it was a consent item as well.
Any questions from the DAP? Al?
This is designed for senior living.
Yes, that's correct.
That's it, senior living, affordable living for seniors.
Yes, I can look at each of this, but they receive low housing tax credit specifically for them all. So I believe it's contingent on if you want to come up and on my brief.
Byron Adrian with Benningham Housing. And this is part of a plan, the submission to KHRC this year for tax credits. So we got another property that the Presbyterian Southern Kansas is offering part of a tax credit application in District 2, in District 4. We're going to combine them into one application. But yes, for seniors 55 and over, strictly for seniors. And yeah, four flex buildings, slab on grade. Each has a single car garage, safe rooms. And then the site plan didn't show it, but we have modified it a little bit to include a clubhouse. That's often what we do at a senior project, find that it works well for building. So that'll be another little modification we'll make to the site.
Any questions for Dad, Jennifer?
For rent or for ownership?
For rent, everything engaged rent. Yeah, so Mennonite Housing would be in charge of maintaining property. And we're committed, that's our mission, and we're committed to it. I've been at Mennonite Housing for 26 years. That's always been what we've done since the mid-70s, and we have no intent to change that, even though after 30 years, we have the opportunity, the land use requirements for 30 years after that period. We do have more flexibility to bring in folks that may have a little bit higher income, but we always have our mission for.
What is typical rent for one of your properties?
On these, we have it tiered a little bit because we can tailor it to what their income is. So we've got like 3 different tiers. These are 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. 1 bedrooms will start at $360 and go up to $730. The 1 bedrooms based on their income levels. And then the 2 bedrooms start at $425 and go up to $840. And again, there's like 3 different tiers in there based on what their 30% area median income, 50%, or 60% area.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions from Dad? Okay, seeing none, is there anybody from the public that has comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, there motion from Dad or conversation? Okay, take a second, but let's do it here this time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say. Thank you for your investment. We're talking about affordable housing. We're talking about how do we keep seniors in their homes. This is a perfect example of how government's making it easier. So
Developing in the city limits, not pushing people on free.
correct. So thank you for your investment. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Hey, I believe that was a quick dad meeting. But I don't think we have anything else on the agenda. So I will give brief update. Our next meeting will be February 2nd at this location as well, just so you know. I'd like to start briefly by just saying, you probably have seen in the news, a really tight in South Wichita, Josh Flick passed away, tragically in a car accident. Josh was a very good friend of mine. He had run for my seat 2 times before, and I joked that he was one of the best men to run for the seat. But he did more in private sector than I think most people in elected office do any day. His background, he ran Wichita and Revelia, which was a nonprofit that donated the proceeds to nonprofits in our community. He helped lead the Hawk Convoy Hope for Bethel. He also led the Thanksgiving dinner every single time. He's a volunteer at Riverfest. He's the president of the Southwest Neighbors Association. Josh was young, was found of life, 2 kids, 1 grandkid and 1 soon grandkid. So please pray for the Flick family. And if you've seen him around. So Josh is a great man. Moving on to a couple of other items that we have. We have a new council member, Joseph Shepard, who will be sworn in on the 12th. His first meeting will be on the 13th. He's replacing Councilman Johnson, who is term limited. Joseph and I were adversaries in Wichita State, but he is a very good friend of mine. And I look forward to collaborating with him on a lot of issues. Our districts are very different. But we're both committed to Wichita, so I look forward to welcoming him as part of the council as well. And Brandon and I joked on an interview about Braden's legacies. Brandon and I actually have the furthest voting record apart. But he helped, I think, strengthen my debate skills. And we always have conversations about how can we come together on issues. We never really talk about what we do or what we differ on, because we already do that. So we just try to figure out things we came together on. So what we missed, wish him the best in his new role. On the 13th, we'll also be electing the new vice mayor. Councilman Johnston, was vice mayor this past year. It's a rotation schedule, and so I'm next to be rotated in, but we'll be electing that on 13th. Vice mayor serves for 1 year in that capacity. Talking about affordability, Lewis mentioned that one of the commitments the council was asking is how do we have housing affordability? How do we make sure to encourage that? I know we're meeting with Justice Together coming up. I met with a couple other groups that are working on housing affordability as well. There's a really good plan we'll be talking about a lot on the 27th. The manager Marcel's first meeting or first workshop meeting. We'll be talking about housing. A lot of it encourages infill development like you guys are doing, and how do we make sure that we hear people do infill development. And that's something I'm really excited about. The further we build out in the community, the further more services you have to have out. So how can we continue to encourage infill development? That's for taxpayers. That's what I'm committed to. And I know Gentry is committed to her private capacity on the Realtors Association, and she is that if you have future questions regarding that. Gentry's Realtors, Southwestern Kansas, and it's a huge help to me when I'm trying to understand these policies. Only 3 more things, I promise. 2 of them are short. Reappointments to all my boards and commissions, or the majority of my boards and commissions are up for reappointment. I don't think my bicycle head on this, so I think you're safe. But I think most of my other ones, if you all but dad, is up. So if you want to be reappointed, please talk to me individually. And I will make sure to work on reappointments. You're all eligible as well. And if you want to serve on any other capacity, there's about 32 boards and commissions. So if you don't like this, we can put you on a different one. I'm sure there's somewhere to place you. Some of them are a little competitive. I think I've had 5 people reach out to this on the air advisor. So that one's full, but all the other ones reach out. Common consumption has been a success in Delano. The one thing we've heard from businesses is that they wish it would happen every day. We've had no police violations as a result of common consumption in 5 months that it was available. So I asked staff previously drafted the ordinance amendment to allow it to happen every day. Same time, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. But we had no violations. We actually had on weekends less reports, at least to me, about activity or nefarious activity in the area when we had common consumption, opposed to during the week. When we saw break-ins or we saw vandalism was actually less blocking as well. And then finally, the biggest thing probably coming up for the council is the March 3rd vote for sales tax. I'm happy to give information in my personal capacity. We are directed from our legal department that we cannot take official stance in our official capacity. A personal capacity, I'm happy to answer any questions and inform you guys of what it is. I've asked Workshop 4 to come on March 2nd to our DAB meeting to answer questions about their proposal as well. Briefly, overview, you've probably seen it on the news. There's really 5 components of the sales tax as being presented for a vote on March 3rd. Number 1 is property tax relief, $150 million be guaranteed for property tax relief. That comes out to about 4 mills, or for the average family, it's about $25 per mill. So you calculate what that's true on that. It'd be the largest property tax increase the city has seen since 1985. And it would reduce your property taxes by about 12%. So that's one bucket. If vote yes were to pass, that would have been codified by ballot ordinance amendment. Aspect 2, Lucas talked about this briefly, is addressing homelessness and affordable housing. There's a $150 million bucket that would go towards addressing homelessness and housing. A large portion of that would be towards an endowment and Second Light. And we'll be talking about all of these buckets at the January 27th meeting. So you can come to that, all more information there. An endowment, a spinoff would allow for the continual operations of the multi-agency center. I've seen misinformation that just be $100 million put generically towards housing. It'd be $100 million in endowment. That would be spinoff that then would use towards Second Light. We'll be talking more about that on the 27th, including what aspects we do have for affordable housing as well. In addition, Century 2, revitalization of Century 2, the Performing Arts Center, that's $250 million. There was a previous study when we looked at this, previously it would be around $400 million for this. So it's a $250 million repurpose of Century 2. Right now, the CIP only has about $12 million invested in rehab Century 2. I toured Citrus 2 weeks ago, saw the state that a lot of buildings in, the heaters alone, are about 30 years old. And each one of those, costs more than 300,000 per megawatt. So the 12 billion currently invested in Century 2 goes away pretty quickly, in terms of just the needed investment, not even bringing it up to, the quality of that building. So, that's on C2. There was a study done in 2016 that said we're losing about $40 million a year in revenue, with the convention center as it stands now. $40 million in sales tax revenue each year that we're losing as a convention center stands now, and we'll be knowing more information, 47 about that. The largest bucket is for public safety, that's cash funding, $225 million public safety projects. 200 million of that is currently in the CIP or 10-year CIP. That would basically cash fund those projects in 7 years. Cash funding that would save about $35 million in interest payments alone during that period that would then utilize towards other projects or invest in public safety. I also toured fire stations. I posted about this on my Facebook. You can see it. Toured some of the fire stations, in particular Station 15, Station 8, Station 1. You can see a lot of dilapidation. I would encourage you to go to those stations and see personally, those are your buildings that you're paying for. Station 15 was built in the late 50s or early 60s. When I was there, we talked about how it's snowing on firefighters while they're sleeping. Some stations with black ceilings, just a black buildings, golden buildings, it's pretty bad condition. So 225 million cash fund public safety projects. And then lastly, performing arts, the smallest portion, 75 million, and that would be with a public match of, or private match of 75 million, for a total convention center of 150 million. The council talked about 2 meetings ago about how we have codified the public-private match. We'll vote on that on the 27th as well, to codify it and look at the buckets and how we offer more guardrails for a lot of these risks. If this were to pass, it'd also be a committee of 15 that are appointed by the mayor and council, which would oversee that each one of these buckets is being spent as it's supposed to be. They would have audit authority over it as well. They would meet twice a year, and those the committee of 15 would be appointed by the mayor and council. So there's an opportunity for any of you to ask to be appointed. I would have one appointment to that, and then the mayor and council as a whole would have 8 appointments that choose from the districts. So I know it's a lot of information. There'll be a lot of information coming probably on both sides. So here, vote yes side, vote no side, but those are the facts of what if it were to pass, those are the things that would happen. What questions do you have? Okay.
Going back to the. Now you're saying 12%. Is that just on the city side, or is that as per the appraiser on the side?
So just the city side, we have no control of the appraisal process. So we do in terms of whether we capture full value of appraisal or whether we don't. But it would be on the city billing, 12% billing.
Is there a potential to see relief as far as specials go?
I would hope that as a conversation in cash funding projects that maybe further relief could happen. The state has to address the assessment process and how we're doing evaluations for homes. And so we have no control of that right now, but I'll encourage talking to legislators about the application process. What we control is the building. We can't control full capture. Now I support capture plus inflation and new growth. Beyond that, I think is a conversation we should have to finish, but I think government grows about the same rate as the private sector in terms of inflation, and the new growth in the community, I don't think we should be hampered for growth.
And then as far as what you've seen, where's the temperature based on sales tax?
From the council, it passed 7-0 to give the voters a choice, so now it's in the hands of the voters. I hope people inform themselves of it. I know that there's groups working in pro and working opposed. So I probably don't have a necessarily good read. Usually if you ask people, first question, do you want a sales tax? Usually the first answer is no. If you ask one subsequent question, do you want a sales tax that reduce the property tax? You can get people to say yes. Do you want a sales tax that funds public safety? Yes. If you ask the general question, do you want a sales tax? The answer is no. Right now, we're missing about 20 to 30% of all revenue. That's people outside of our community coming into Wichita and that they could be helping pay for Wichita services. They're not about 20 to 30% of the entire revenue. And we are the only first class city in the state that doesn't have a sales tax. So if you got to Derby, you got Goddard, Andover, Hayes, any of those communities, you're paying a sales tax. Any other questions? Alan?
Where do we stand on the Rodney Stevens thing tomorrow?
So we have a settlement discussion. I probably won't say anything before it's presented tomorrow, so we're gonna be debating the settlement. Legal counsel is presenting a settlement based on what they feel is best out of negotiations. Council can either vote or vote up or down the settlement. If we vote down the settlement, either goes back to further conversations with Genesis. Or it would continue. So those are the outcomes.
Where do you stand?
I want to hear the presentation as presented tomorrow. I haven't taken a full opinion on it. So I'm gonna hear the presentation tomorrow. That's not my cop-out answer. I genuinely want to hear it. You're probably per legal advice. I should probably wait till we have a presentation.
And probably the litigation that would continue, if it did go to a trial. It probably will change venue, correct? Because there's too many people that know the Stevens and know what they're
It's
about.
probably up to the judge to determine what.
Probably change venue would be.
So, but we are hearing a presented settlement from city staff tomorrow, and then we'll make a decision whether that's the right settlement or not. If we vote no, then we'll go back to negotiations for trials. And the city has still two pending litigations. We have a litigation with Genesis. We also have litigation with the manufacturer of the chillers as well. So there's other litigation that this isn't the only one to try to rectify what happened. Okay, no questions for that? Well,
You mentioned you toured the fire station and they were disrepair. Why aren't we appropriating money every year to maintain the bills properly?
we should have maintained them better than we have. That's the honest answer. We have new leadership that also will probably be hearing that, but our stations have not been maintained. Universally, I requested us to look into how I handle repair orders for those stations as well. Really right now, there's multiple areas where something can get dropped in the process of repairs. And so making sure that we handle repairs at one station in particular, they requested south doors of the station to be repaired. We did have doors repaired, but it's the north doors, not the south doors. And so there's a lot of facility upgrades that we made, and it's just old buildings that are built in the 50s and 60s that have that.
I think it should be.
I agree. I agree.
100 years.
Well, I think over the past 2 years, the council's done, when we look at the priorities or budget items, maintenance at the top for the last 2 years. I know it's probably the top one, we start budget conversations upcoming as well. That maintenance is one of my top priorities, so let's maintain things before we build new. And I know that we've taken a shift on that in the past couple of years, but I hope we continue that. Okay, any other questions, Dad? Any questions from the public while you're here too? If not, you can always ask me questions at the end as well, Nancy.
All of the information in social media, and I'm surprised that the response on the sales tax. Do you think there'll be more information like that?
I think they probably should post informational meetings. I would encourage them to get as much information out as possible. We don't have, as the city, we don't have any control over the pro campaign, and that's codified by state law that we can't. But I would encourage them publicly to host as many meetings as possible, trying
Well,
to.
if I know somebody else that.
Yes, I would encourage them to host meetings. I would say that publicly. I would say giving.
There's so much, I think, misinformation.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's struggle with anything with government is how do we make sure that we're putting out information? Often people don't care until it is directly in front of them or until maybe there's a week before an election. And so how do we make sure that we get information out? It's the job of the media to also be the watchdogs over government and to get information out. But we can't control what information they put out on what's news. But I don't think more information is happening. Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I got you out still before an hour and 15. I guarantee you every other dab is still filming. You're also lucky, District 1 went to like what, 11:30?
10:30.
Yeah,
Oh.
like they go a lot longer than. So, is
Yeah,
there a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Yes, okay, we have multiple, second, all in favor, say aye. Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks for all being here.